There's absolutely no way, shape, or form that I would choose to spend Christmas with them.
Hello and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. It is time for another Sister Wives recap. I'm talking about season 19, episode 6, where Kody Brown will inevitably say something rude about one of his ex-wives or his children. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. This episode starts out focusing on each of the separate parts of the family and how they are spending their Christmas. Kody mentions that this is the first year he's not going to have another wife around. We know in the past Meri was typically there, but she makes it clear she is not going to be going to their house for Christmas.
There's absolutely no way, shape, or form that I would choose to spend Christmas with them.
Did you guys pick up on the fact that Kody looked happy about it? I mean, he wasn't like doing the thing where he's grinning ear to ear, but he seemed okay with the fact that the other wives were not going to be there. Of course, Robin felt differently, but she said she was going to make the best of it for the kids. She wanted them to still have a happy Christmas. Christine is spending the day with most of her children. I believe she said it was Aspen, Mitch, Mykelti, Tony, Truly, and Isabel. I might have missed someone. I don't remember if she said Gwendolyn. But she's spending the day with most of her children. Mykelti and Tony, they have a clip of them talking. They talk about how it feels really different. And I think a part of that is, it is different. It's quieter. It's a smaller group. Mykelti says there's less chaos. But it's also that Mykelti is an adult. And Christmas just feels different when you are an adult with children. You're suddenly responsible for making some of the Christmas magic happen. So I think you do shift, and she's getting, that change, being a parent to 3 kids, and her family has broken up into smaller groups. There's a lot of change there for her. So I'm sure it's something she will have to adjust to, but life happens, you got to make the best of it. Janelle is in North Carolina spending Christmas with Maddie. So she is enjoying being there with her grandkids. And Meri is spending Christmas with her friends Lisa and Amber in Salt Lake City. If you are new to my channel, you might not know this, but I'm just going to fill you in. I have a bit of a soft spot for Meri. She was definitely the one I was hoping would leave. Back before anyone left, I was like, Meri, you have got to go. This is not working. Everyone can see it. Why are you still hanging on? But now I sort of see it. Even though I think she's better off without Kody and without Robin, I can see what she was probably worrying about, and that was just being by herself. But it seems like she has found, people who support her. She has friends she can spend time with. But I can understand why she held on. I think she wanted that connection to the family. With that being said, where is Leon? What has happened there? Has Leon decided not to be on the show? Or has there been some sort of falling out? You guys usually know this stuff, so you can let me know down in the comments what is going on with this. After we see some very brief clips of them celebrating Christmas, it moves on to dating, and we find out that Christine has been dating for about 6 months. She says that she has went out with a few people, and when she brings up polygamy, sometimes that changes things. She said she was on a second date with one guy. He had never heard about polygamy. When she told him about it, that ended it. There wasn't a third date. So at this point in the show, they're telling us that she's been dating for a while. There are some clips of Meri talking about it, and Janelle as well. Meri says for herself, she thinks it's going to be really weird because she's 52 and she spent 30 years in a plural marriage. Janelle says that she is not going to join any apps. She wants meeting people to be something that happens organically, but both of them seem very supportive of Christine dating. Meri basically says good for her. I hope she does it. Then they throw in a clip of Kody talking about it. And I have to tell you, it's one of the rare moments where Kody wasn't awful. This is what he has to say about Christine dating.
My life and Christine's life are separate and private from each other, and I would expect that she'd be dating. It's really none of my business.
I mean, in some ways it could be his business because Truly is at home and she's a minor. And if he was a very involved dad, he might want to have a conversation with Christine about her dating life and introducing men to Truly. But because he is basically a deadbeat dad, this is none of his business because Christine is making all of the parenting choices. She's doing a good job. And if he suddenly stuck his nose in her life because she was dating, I would be annoyed. And I think all the other viewers would as well. The way he's handling this, in my opinion, is correct. If you're not being a dad any other time, don't decide to be one now. Oh, and I don't want to leave this out. We did get to see Aspen. She was talking about Christine dating, and I really enjoyed it. I like her, and I hope we see more of her on the show. The show continues focusing on Christine dating. She says that she was nervous when she started dating, but of course that makes sense. She said she went on dates with 8 different people, but only 2 of them made it to a second date, and David was the one who went the furthest. She said when she started dating, she knew she wanted to date someone who was bald, had tattoos, and rode motorcycles. So there's a part of this where she has all of her kids, actually not all of them, but she has Aspen, Mitch, Tony, McKelty, Isabel, Truly, all over at the house, and she is talking to them about David. We know from McKelty and Tony on their Patreon, they met David for the first time at Christmas. But they're all there. They're talking about David. McKelty and Tony seem to approve of him. Tony makes a really great point. David's wife died, and they had 8 children. The youngest was 6, according to what they said in this episode. And David survived. That's Tony's words there. He made it. He was left a widow, and he raised his kids, and they seemed to be all right. I mean, we saw some of the kids during that wedding special they did last year. They seemed all right. I remember saying, I hope we see them on the show sometimes. He seems to be an all right guy, and what he was left with was an incredibly difficult situation, but he didn't abandon his kids. He didn't run away from it. He doesn't appear, from what we know, to have issues with any addictions. There's no gambling habits. He did it. He seemed to raise okay kids. Of course, we don't know that much about him, but just based on what little bit they've given us, he's done all right. While they're talking, Tony brings up the fact that technically David is a boomer. He is not a part of Gen X. So this leads to different confessionals with Kody, Janelle, Meri, and Christine talking about what generations they fall into. I found this really enjoyable. They were all happy when they were talking about it and laughing. I feel like we don't see that often in the show anymore, so I enjoyed it. Here are a few very short clips of that part of the show.
All I know was like the 80s are my jam.
I'm not a freaking boomer. I'm not a boomer.
Gen X, we're the feral generation. What a great time to be alive.
I just really enjoyed having a bit of a lighter moment thrown in there, so that was nice. I just realized when I was talking about all of the kids being there, I left Peyton out. So it's actually Christine and all of her children except Gwendolyn. There does seem to be an agreement that it's moving too quickly, but they don't have a problem with it either. Like, they're okay with how fast it's all going, but it is going quickly. The kid that is struggling the most with seeing Christine date is actually Isabel, and she just says there is a strangeness to it because she has only seen her mom as being married to her dad. They also talk about how the physical affection part of it is kind of uncomfortable. It's a little weird because they haven't seen their mom being physically affectionate with someone. You know, Kody and her, that was an issue, right? Now, when all of this is happening, they're doing confessionals. So you see Kody, Meri, and Janelle as well. They talk about PDA. Kody specifically says it was an issue because he had 4 wives. And it wasn't something they could do. But he actually really likes it. And here's my thing. Kody's saying he has 4 wives, so he couldn't be physically affectionate with them. I can understand when they were all together, but he was supposed to be spending time with them alone. So it's only sort of a good excuse. Let's get real. He wasn't affectionate with the wives he didn't want to be with. That's what it was. But according to him, it's because there were 4. Nah, he didn't want to be with them, so there was no affection there. That's my perspective. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. I do think saying I love you to someone that you've only known for just over 1 week is a bit too speedy for me. But Christina's 50 years old. David is, I think, 59 is what they said. I'm going to guess that they have some idea of what they're wanting and what they're doing. And if they're not, they're old enough to know there are consequences for your decisions. So, you know what? Have fun, right? Christine also makes a point of saying that she wants to know what her kids think, but just because they don't like something doesn't mean she's going to stop doing it. So she's going to listen to her kids, but she's still going to do what she thinks is going to make her happy. And if you had any doubt about Christine being a hopeless romantic, you definitely should have let go of those doubts when you were watching this episode. She actually is talking about the moment where she realized she loved David. She said they were cuddling. There was a lot of chaos around them. They were like on a date. And the words she uses, this is what she says: our souls synced up. Our heartbeats synced up. This woman wanted some romance. She never got it from Kody. And now she is getting it. So good for her. After this, the show shifts over to Janelle. She is with Maddie and Caleb. They are still discussing getting some property together. You know, Janelle really wants to do some sort of gardening, hobby farming. She says they will never be real farmers, but they would like to have some chickens and maybe grow some stuff. Now we know they have turned it into a business, but at this part of the show, they haven't gotten the property, and they aren't even at that point. But we know what really happens based on social media. Maddie, and Caleb are discussing it. During this part of the show, they discuss Coyote Pass, and there's a confessional where Janelle says she has the money to pay her portion off, but Kody does not. She wishes he would just get out alone and finance her out of this. I think she just wants to move on. And let's get real. Why would she want to be neighbors with Kody and Robin? So I just think this is one of those situations where they have to figure out how to get her out of this, as well as Meri. They don't want to live by Kody and Robin. No one wants to live by Kody and Robin. So hopefully we will see them figure that out this season. I just want to add that there is a part of this where Janelle says after Vegas, after they moved there, her attitude shifted. She said she used to wait for Kody to make decisions, but she decided to stop doing that. And it's something I've talked about on here. It's something I've seen you guys or read in your comments. Imagine being in a marriage where every decision you had to wait for that person to come to your house every fourth night, and then you had to wait for them to go discuss it with everyone else. And if it was a big thing, there would have to be a meeting. Can you imagine living that way? That sounds like a miserable existence. I probably, if I found myself in a plural marriage and I was needing to wait on other people to do things, I eventually would have everyone else decide to divorce me as a group because I wouldn't do it. I would get way too impatient. There's no way I would be waiting on other people. And specifically when all their personalities are so different and you know there's always going to be an issue. No way. So I can't blame Janelle. I would have decided that way earlier. So I have to admit that the next few things that happened in the show kind of annoyed me. Sometimes the way they edit it, I'm not a fan. What happened is they showed Meri and Kody, but they didn't show them together. It shifted over to talking about the two of them. Kody says he is going over to Meri's house because there's some things we've got to clarify. That's absolutely ridiculous. I do not for 1 second think that Kody wants to go over there. He does not care to clarify anything with her. I don't think he cares one single bit. However, I do think that they want to continue making money on this show, and they were told that they needed to talk, and so Kody is going over there. You guys can let me know if you feel the same way down in the comments. Maybe you disagree, but I think most of us know that Kody has no interest in Meri. So that is it. They basically show Meri and Kody talking about how they separated and how they need to clarify things. We see Kody walk to the door, and then it shifts over to Christine and David, and I'm like, why? Why did they even do that? I wish they would have just left that part for when they were actually going to show it. But anyway, with Christine and David, we find out at this point they have been dating for 1 month. David owns a drywall business. I'm not going to recap a lot of this because we know they get married. We watched the wedding special before, so we sort of know about him already. No reason for me to go into it again. There was one part of this, though, that I thought was really funny. I'm going to put the clip in. It made me actually laugh, and I don't laugh a lot during this show. If I do, it's usually more because I'm laughing at Kody, not actually laughing with something that was funny. But I thought this was funny. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments.
I feel like love of my life, but that really is a lot. But this is David.
I'm your burrito.
Okay, that's probably inappropriate.
Even watching the clip again makes me laugh. There's just something about it in their interaction. It's funny. You can see that David is, David's very different from Kody. The way he talks and the way he is. Very, very different. But I like it. I think he seems all right. Christine seems happy. Good for them. We do get to see them go on a date. We find out that the third date was a complete makeout session, but that is it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Are they moving too fast? What do you think of David? But I mean, for the most part, we kind of know what happens, right? So we're seeing this so far. We're so far in the past on the show. I really hope they do catch us up. After that, we move on to the part of the show where Kody absolutely blows my mind by saying ridiculous stuff. Just classic Kody Brown lines. I really wish I could show all of it and we could break down each part of the show, but I know I would get in trouble. I'd get a copyright claim for it. So I'm just going to point out some of the things that he said to Meri that sounded crazy. First of all, he sits down with her and asks her what's going on, and she brings up Parowan, and then he's like, oh, you're gonna move there? And she's basically like, I live there, which just shows again these people do not communicate with each other. Then Kody goes on a rant during a couch confessional, and he says the line that we have been seeing in the trailer leading up to this season, blame yourself if I'm not in love with you. He really goes off, and I wish I could put it in here, but it's kind of long. He talks about how it's your fault if he's in love with you, so it's your fault if he's not in love with you. He talks about rubbing feet and wanting to serve a woman if he's in love with her. He really was on a roll. He was worked up there. There's also a part of this where Kody and Meri are talking and they bring up accountability. Hold on, let me correct myself. Kody Brown brings up accountability.
Now, if
It's an
right.
accountability conversation
Right.
that we agreed mutually that the relationship isn't going to progress.
You're right.
If you're wondering why I chose to put that clip in and not one of the other moments where he said stuff that was just wild, it is because he said accountability, and I am convinced we may never hear him say that again. I felt it was necessary to put it in here so we could commemorate it. There's also another part of this that really stood out to me. Meri says, I took the steps, we are done. And he responds by saying, moving on? Are we moving forward together? Did you guys catch that? It was like Kody didn't know they had decided to separate, even though he got a call from the church. He talks about how the church called him when she got the release, yet he's asking this really bizarre question, like, are we moving on together? What do you mean, are you moving on together?
I took the steps and we're done.
Moving on, moving forward together.
You are done. It was so weird. Let me know down in the comments if you noticed that part of it. It's just like he has not been present for anything that's been happening. When they are both talking about this, there are a few things they bring up. Meri, number one, she does not blame Kody. There are a few parts of this conversation I do want to point out. The first one is Meri doesn't seem to blame Kody as much as she should. She says they both played a role in it. They were both a part of their marriage ending. Kody gets caught up on the fact that the release from the church, it said it was on the grounds of abandonment. We know that's something Kody doesn't like because he doesn't believe that Meri was abandoned. But I think Tony, when he was doing the comments with McKelty, he brought up a great point. If Kody didn't call the church and take part in the release, he did essentially abandon her. He wasn't showing up to defend his marriage. Kody was choosing not to be a part of it. It did appear that he abandoned Meri. So I don't know why Kody's getting so hung up on that. There was also a part of this conversation where Kody asks why they're moving on so quickly. Why is she moving on so quickly? And I'm like, are you kidding me? So quickly. It has went on for way, way too long. It was just very bizarre to me, the whole thing. There's a part during the couch confessional where Kody brings up finding out that Sonny and Cher got a divorce when he was 6 years old, and it really rattled him. So I just felt like this was all, like, it was really kind of weird. And also, Kody talks about the fact that he is the one holding on. He's having a hard time with Janelle, Christine, and Meri leaving him. And he acknowledges that Christine did him a favor by being brave enough to leave. Because he knows that he does not want to be in these marriages anymore, but he can't seem to let go of them. This is one of those times where Kody is actually talking about these relationships in a way that is sort of sensible. He's acknowledging that he doesn't want to be with them. He even says Janelle. He says he doesn't want to be married to her, but he doesn't understand why he's holding on to these relationships. I think that's something that he should have admitted that earlier. He should have said that years and years ago, instead of having these women stick around and ultimately ruining relationships with his kids because of it. When Meri was talking to Kody, I've just felt like she's at a point where she's fed up with this situation. She's actually at a point where she's done, and she's not going to play around, go back and forth with him anymore. There's a part of it where she says, I'm not going to tell him about everything, like everything in her life. She doesn't need to do that anymore. They're separated. So she is not going to sit there and fight with him. And when it starts to get argumentative, she really tries to shut it down. Of course, when you're watching this, it's jumping from them talking to each other back over to those couch confessionals. And Kody says he didn't realize his relationship with Meri was bad until he was in a normal relationship. So when he married Janelle, he realized how bad it was with Meri. And then Christine came along and he realized how bad it was with Meri again. Then Robin came along and that was the ultimate good relationship. So he realized how bad the other relationships were. One of the things that really irked me was when Kody said to Meri, I wish you would have made your decision 25 years ago. Really? They were married just over 30 years. I think she said 32. And he wishes that they hadn't done the last 25. That's just one of those times I'm like, keep it to yourself. There's no reason to go back and say that. It's not benefiting you or her. You're not getting back together, hopefully. So just let that go. There's no reason to say that. But of course, that's what he told her. He could have made the decision. He could have made the decision. And he's acknowledging in this episode that he was the one hanging on to those relationships. He could have ended it. After this, the show jumps over to Christine and David. They are on a date. Christine talks to David about how she didn't get to have a New Year's Eve kiss because they would spend the holiday all together. And, they couldn't all be kissing Kody at the same time. So she's discussing that with him, and they talk about how they feel like they're soulmates and how it almost feels too good to be true. Like, it just seems perfect. During a confessional, Christine says that now that she is experiencing a soulmate relationship, she understands why Kody always wanted to be with Robin, and she doesn't know how someone could maintain multiple relationships if one of those relationships is a soulmate relationship. I do think it's interesting to watch David because it feels like he is polar opposite from Kody. Cody's so energetic. He seems to get worked up easily. David seems to be a bit of a slower talker, more calm. It's just a different vibe from Kody. So it feels like she's just going for the exact opposite of him. So that is it for Christine and David in this episode. The last part is focused on Meri and Kody. And when it goes back over to them, Meri says that Kody is just saying a lot of really mean stuff. And she's in a good place. She's okay with everything that has happened. She's at peace with it. But Kody is just being Kody. He's just being rude. And you know what's weird is I don't even think he's at a bad place with it. I think he's okay with it. He doesn't want to be with Meri. I just think he's mean. That's where I'm at. If he can say something to hurt someone, he will.
Where we are now is I actually like you. Now,
Gods be praised.
well, I didn't for 6 years.
I really wish she just would have told him to grab his shoes and leave. Like, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, maybe it's time for you to go. We've had enough. There's been enough of you at my house. But he just keeps going. It's just such an awkward conversation. And if you ever wondered how out of order the show was, I will tell you that we watched Christmas earlier in this episode, but it appears that this conversation actually took place before Christmas happened because Meri tells Kody, I'm not going to your house to hang out for Christmas. She just flat out lets him know in this conversation that she is not going there.
I do have a wife who says that Meri is our family and you need to have her come over for Christmas.
Clearly, we all know who he's talking about, but I couldn't leave this part out because I absolutely thought it was hilarious. Listen to what he says next and Meri's response.
I normally just disregard her opinion.
No, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do. Really? You don't know me if you think that I'm not a man of my own mind.
Just go home. There is no reason to stay there. He needs to leave. I don't even understand what the point of this conversation is. Was he there to try to get her to go to Christmas at his house for Robin? What is the point of this whole thing with him? It's just really bizarre. She doesn't want to be with him. He doesn't want to be with her. Go home. Just leave.
I don't know how we define ourselves with each other from here.
We're exes. Let's be real. You don't need to worry about me.
What is wrong with him? Why doesn't he understand what happened? Everyone else understands. Why doesn't Kody get it? The only thing that makes any of this make sense to me is if Robin is at home saying, I want Meri in our life. And he says that Robin considers Meri family. If Robin is like, you need to go to Meri's house and talk to her because I still want her to come around for Christmas. And then he goes and does it. And of course, Meri, because she's actually acting in good sense, says, no way, I'm not coming over. Or it's just because TLC was like, we need some footage, go see Meri. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. But even if TLC pushed for this interaction, why does he say this stuff? He could say other things. This could have been a kind moment. He could have reflected on the good times with Meri. He could have talked about raising Leon with her. But no, he's mean.
Bon voyage. Happy life, happy journey. I don't know what to say besides that, Meri.
Seriously? Get out of her house, Kody. Leave her alone. There's no reason to discuss it. He doesn't even need to say bye to her. It's already done. He needs to go. It would have made good television if she told him to leave. If she was like, get out of my house. That I would have been thrilled for her to tell Kody to go.
I just hope that in the future, Meri will call me when she's got something fun to share.
I hope none of them call him ever again. I hope he never hears a single word from Meri, Janelle, and Christine. That is my wish for Kody. I hope they move on and he never hears a single word from them and they have great lives. Don't call him Meri. Just don't do it. And don't let Robin drag you into that. You can be on Team Robin and still see that this isn't good for Meri. So I hope that Meri does not... I'm getting ready to say I hope Meri doesn't fall for what he's saying, but he's being mean. There's no way to fall for it. He's just being a jerk. So... that's what I got out of that. I don't know why that conversation happened, and I just wish she would have told him to leave. Those are my thoughts about this episode. You guys can leave your comments and thoughts down below. If you haven't already, I hope you'll consider clicking like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support I get here, and I hope you'll come back to Happily Ever Reality. There's going to be another recap on Monday, and on Friday I usually do another Sister Wives video. So I hope you'll come back for that.